Your host, JD, here with another episode of Film Flam. We are here to talk about 2025's The Monkey. The hell is this movie? Okay, look, one thing about reviews, I think it's really important to remember. It's an opinion. And horror is, more than any other genre, everybody is going to latch on. I mean, for example, I hate Lord of Salem. I think it was one of the biggest wastes of my time ever. And right now, there'll be somebody that watches this video that's like, right away, discredit, not a horror fan. You don't like the hardcore stuff. I get it. That's what horror is. So this is just my opinion. The Monkey sucked. I paid money, went with a friend. You know what? As a growing tradition here on the channel, quick shout out to my compatriot in the Monkey experience and his thoughts.
One sentence review for The Monkey.
That one was pretty confusing.
Well summarized. So this movie, let's talk plot for a sec. It's essentially a story about two brothers who come into, ownership of a small monkey that bangs a drum, and when it bangs the drum, random people die in horribly gruesome ways. Think Final Destination if it originated from a drum-playing monkey. Your trailers will have you believe that this is a horror film. Debatable. It's kind of way more on the black comedy side, like dark humor tones that it leans heavily into. So if you go to this film expecting like dark, creepy, gruesome, you'll get gruesome. Dark and creepy, not so much. If you go to this film expecting comedy, well, you're going to get comedy. Maybe unintentional at times because the writing in this film, oh gosh, the writing. Look, Osgood Perkins, so he's the gentleman behind Longlegs, now has two films that, due to the marketing, have done very well against budget. So he's going to get another chance. I feel he's kind of on the cusp of being the next M. Night Shyamalan, where he's going to have a few great options in there, but because he has such creative control from the writing, the directing, everything, Final Cut, I'm assuming, because these are all his babies, he's going to drop some films like Lady in the Water or The Happening. And look at Longlegs. I love the first hour of that film, and then it just goes to crazy town. And I ain't talking cage rage. I always enjoy me some cage rage. That film just, the last half of it lost me. Still, a lot of people liked it. The Monkey is going to be way more divisive. And it was one of those films where people just walk out of the theater and they're kind of like looking at each other like, what? The acting in this film, and I never want to just hate on actors because I'm sure the director gave them the box to kind of play in. This is what he wanted. The acting in this film is not great. It's over the top at the wrong times. It's subdued at the wrong times. It's really awkward, emotional conversations that just fall flat. It's like you're watching a film where all of this insane stuff is happening and the characters just play it very much like, yeah, oh, that's a thing that happened. All right, let's move on to this next plot point. By the way, why is any of this happening? Well, I'm glad you asked, Tom. I am also not really sure. Something to do with a monkey. And are we going to dive into that revenge plot? There's so much in here. Like, there's a whole backstory in high school with this group of mean girls that beats the crap out of the main character. Genuinely could have turned into something, especially when you come into control of a murderous drum-playing monkey. Nope. Moving on from that plot point, we're just going to jump 15 years later. The monkey's back because it was picked up at a yard sale by an underling. I'm not entirely sure. There's also a story in here about a father maybe trying to reconnect with a son that he's been afraid to because of the drum-playing monkey. No. Also, how this guy found a woman to procreate with him needed explanation because nothing about this guy at any point in time screams, I gotta take this one home. I think this is the last Osgood Perkins film I'm going to see in theater. He's way too all over the place for me. And the marketing, who's ever doing his marketing, they have this down to a science to tell you that you are about to experience horror film the likes of which you've never seen and from a new creative voice in the industry. And he's definitely that. He's new and creative. This film really feels like it starts nowhere, goes nowhere, and ends nowhere. There's also a point in the film where this conversation happens. Hey, villain, don't you realize that I also went through the same thing that you went through? Oh, yeah. Gosh, why did I start this in the first place? That's the thing. Just none of these threads go anywhere. Like my buddy we walked out of the theater. The first thing he said to me was, "Why did they have that high school backstory?" It's just there's no reason for it. There's no revenge arc. I thought it might have been interesting if they kind of implied that one of those mean girls that beat him up is the girl that he ended up with. That could have been a really cool side plot if he was like maybe murdering people with the monkey or unintentionally, intentionally, and then they ended up bonding over the death of some of her treacherous high school feminine compatriots. Could have been a really cool story about how they've kind of had this love thing, especially after some loss involved in their universes. No, it's nothing. Just jumped ahead. Possibly the worst written siblings of all time. Like, it's totally okay to have siblings hate each other. I mean, that's normal. There's parts of that, but there's like no redeeming qualities in the relationship whatsoever. It makes it really hard to attach yourself to anything in their story. The kills are cool. There's some good kills. It's like blood. There's a bee thing. So, I mean, if you just want a couple of good kills, sure. I would recommend not investing money in this. Just see it down the road. And I'm sure it'll be on a streaming service and it'll do okay. And it's done well in theater. So the people behind it have made their money. So congrats. Do not expect a horror experience or even a horror comedy experience. This is way more in lines with something like Eight Heads in a Duffel Bag, maybe. Might be. Something that's just like really very bad things. Like something that's just like really dark comedy where all the characters involved just treat everything like it's not even there, and they just have their own way of emotionless communication. It's just an odd choice. Not a great time. That said, I'm going to give The Monkey a 5 out of 10. I'm not going higher. Like, I'm pretty judicious with some of my scores, and it is a lot about how I feel at the time. This is a film that I felt took my money and did it very, like, maniacally. It did it by telling me I was watching something that I was not watching, and that's always very frustrating. As a film, so as a horror film, 5 out of 10. As a film, you know what? We'll give it to this. We'll give it a 5 out of 5. 5.5? 5.5. 5.5 out of 10. We'll give it an extra half point as a regular movie because you can definitely enjoy this on a different level. Oh, yeah. I always forget. Hit the bell, like, subscribe. I mean, any of that, right? I mean, let's get these numbers to 3 digits. That's all I've got. Looking forward to a few more adventures. There's some great ones on deck. Got some new physical media coming in. I'm going to drop that on Blue Default, which thank you to anybody watching that. And the comments have been great too. So have yourselves a great day, folks. We'll see you soon.